whatever it is that we implement and mandate and enforce needs to be practical.
Oh yeah.
It needs to be fit for purpose. You can take a stance where you want to gold-plated your policies and standards and your frameworks, but can you meet it? Or how many exemptions will you have because you can't? How much of it can you afford? What's realistic for you to implement? So I wanted to add to that.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for all three of you. How important is governance? Because I hear so far in a lot of conferences and sessions that I go to, I keep hearing a lot of talk about, you gotta write the AI adoption usage governance policy. I keep hearing that. Like, how important is it? What's your opinion? So yeah,
What exactly it is?
What
is that?
What they have said.
Yeah.
Write policy on what do you call it, acceptable use of data. What is the correct way to use it, not correct way to use it. I've heard things like that. I heard about all the identification of risk. And then I can't remember whether this might not be true, but I've heard somewhere before, I think, about compliance as well, like some standards. And I was thinking, this is very new. What kind of compliance can we deal with? Maybe it's inflicting on other regulatory compliances that might be related to data loss prevention, I think.
So I'll jump in this one, right?
Wait. Let's.
Already had one.
You had one?
Yeah.
And this for all three of you. So everyone dig it.
Everybody.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
I'll answer then you guys can.
While you're talking,
first. Okay. So I would say yes, it's important. But back to Steve's point, right? Do we then create policies that are gold standards that we will never meet? That's the important part, right? Acceptable AI use policy. Are you just going to have a whole long list of no's, right? When did AI acceptable use become, this is not acceptable use? And I have been given a lot of sample of people's acceptable use policies that are just full of no's. So if your approach to acceptable use policy is teaching people no, then good luck. No one's really going to comply to it, right? And then you create a bit of a problem there as well. A personal experience on my end when I actually created the acceptable use policy for us, I got asked the question of going, where is the part that it tells us that we're not able to use AI? So my approach was completely different. Was going, this is how you use it. This is the safe way to do it. Yes, there are certain absolute, and I do have that portion of going, sanctioned tools versus unsanctioned tools, right? But it is important. No, you're.
That's helping. That's helping with dissipating the.
A bit more.
So that's a less spicy tab.
A lot of sweat.
Sorry. What were you saying?
No. It is a lot about using the acceptable use policy as a way to educate people rather than telling people no. Telling people no is not an education process. It's basically just presenting them with a stick all the time. The question is, how do you actually present it as a carrot? So that's the one end, and the other end is actually utilizing the ability to give people options as well. So governance is important, but here's the other thing: governance just with the policies, I'm sorry, that's pretty useless. Right, that's the next level of then where's your visibility, and this is where I went back to my original question of how do you make sure that you educate yourself as a security practitioner what you're dealing with as well. Where does your governance layer give you, where does the visibility give you that you can actually apply governance to as well? And I can say, I think at this point in time, categorically, that it is quite difficult on that one option that everyone gets at the moment. That one option that everybody gets actually doesn't give you a lot of visibility on what is actually happening in there, which is then, okay, how do you actually approach it? There are ways of doing it. We just need to educate ourselves to go, what is it? Our traditional measures will not help here. That's the reality.
You done with eating?
We're gonna kill him.
Fine.
We see Steve after today.
I actually like the chilies. I like the taste. I just get sweaty.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah. Just be careful where you wipe, because if you wipe your mouth, then you wipe your
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah, yeah.
You don't want to. You should
Yeah.
have two separate ones. You don't want to mix them.
Okay, tissues here.
You don't want to mix them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've had one. I'll add to what Kevin said. So there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of unknown as well. A lot of all of these things that we're covering, right? But to your point, how important is governance, and how important is writing up policies and standards and frameworks? For me, because we're in this state where there's a lot of unknown, we need to start somewhere, right? It's not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect the first go. You go in there, you start, and then you continue to incrementally improve over time. But you need to be, going back to earlier conversation, you need to be happy with what you're implementing and you're enforcing, and it needs to be fit for purpose. It needs to be realistic. So otherwise,
You can actually enforce and implement it, right?
Exactly.
It's not just something you write on paper.
exactly. But when you set something up and you start looking at, okay, how do I start getting visibility? How do I start measuring things? How do I start putting governance around this? So when you're implementing a deployment where you're integrating an AI model to your information, to your database, how do you know which identities you're using? How do you know which APIs you're using? How do you secure tokens and keys that you are using? Like when you link one system to another, is that it? Like we spoke about how it's a collection of things, right? So you integrate one point to another. This point, how many connections extra does it have? And how do you start building that bill of materials? And you can start having that visibility. At the moment, it's difficult, but again, you have to start somewhere.
So yeah, absolutely. There are actually tools now that allows you to go, even if you have the ability to interact with a particular AI assistant / agent, whatever you want to call it, that the ability to connect to certain information or data will be actually tied back to the personal user's access as well. So just because that particular agent can do a few things, but if you don't have the access yourself as a user, then the agent's not going to be able to do it as well. So that's the world that we're getting into. Again, a lot of the traditional, that one option, I still find it very difficult. I cannot find that particular control that allows you to do that. It's literally a bit of a all or nothing, right? And that's I think that's the scary part, right? If you go, well, okay, who can interact with the agent then? Okay, maybe apply the authentication and ability to access to the agent based on the person's user access and stuff like that. So there is a bit more, and it goes back to the good old identity access management, right? It goes back to the good old identity access management. Identity and access management. Again, we go back to information security.
Yes, go back to the traditional security.
It is. The principle hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So it is absolutely that, right? Okay, now how do we make sure that that particular, and we talk about things like utilization of MCP servers, and one of the reasons why I like MCP servers, and very quickly, MCP servers is a great little tool that allows agents to connect to data sources. And then it can actually do things on your behalf as well. I like the concept of the MCP server at this point in time. It's really new as well, right? But if implemented correctly, it actually stops. People who don't have access to those kind of information will not be able to get the information out of the MCP server. It has that context, right? So we are moving there.
So that is actually a better control.
It is.
Yeah.
It is absolutely is. Right? It goes back to your corporate, identity. Do I even have access in the first place? Right.
Just to add to our two expert here, right? So I already eat, by the way. So I think in terms of the governance, to help our business in terms of using the AI, I think we need to ask back to your fit and purpose, right? What's the purpose of the AI? The business will ask. We need to ask whether is it for information, is it for assistant, or is it for autonomous, which we don't think that they are ready yet for that one. So once we have that kind of knowledge in terms of what is the purpose, then we start writing out or maybe giving advice in terms of like what kind of data they can access to, whether which environment they can go to, is it a testing environment or they can access to production environments. And then we also talk about access control, whether they can have access where they can make a decisions or just extracting information and what information they can. Then after that, we also can advise in terms of what data classification they can the AI can access to based on the purpose. Yeah, and we also talk about logging because if you are doing the autonomous or making some decisions, we are blind if there is no log. We don't know what the AI is doing, right? So we need to have some kind of logging so that we can maybe do the investigation. They make it wrong. We also need to have somebody own the AI to be responsible if something is wrong, to update and do enhancements if there's anything wrong. I think this kind of governance that we need to have to that can help the business in more structured way, so that later on we can give them advice. Oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. But at the end of the day, you make a call whether you want to accept it, the risk or not. Yeah, the risk is still there. I think that's on.
So when you say when you need to decide whether you want to accept the risk, you mean someone needs to physically
I think so.
sign on paper that I'm happy to accept
I think
this
back to the
risk.
traditional information security where
Pen and
we
paper.
usually always asking the owner, right? To yeah, we recommend you do this, but this is the risk. And then if you want to accept the risk or you want to mitigate the risk, will still apply. I think, yeah, because at the end we do not own it. We shouldn't own it because it's being used. It will be used by the business, and they should understand what are the risks they're taking on.
I think we're in a very unique position in the security industry. Unique in the sense that we actually sit between the business and technology. And absolutely, that's where we should be. And therefore, we're the right people to direct traffic.
Yeah, it's like a police. Yeah,
Yeah, to try to direct, the traffic cop at a traffic light junction,
Yeah.
to try to get some sort of order in place. Right? Absolutely, we can't own the risk. Obviously, it is
You can't stop the traffic.
but we cannot stop the traffic. So therefore, what is the safest way of doing it? Right? We talk about governance. Is that we got to make sure that these 3 lanes will go straight and these 2 lanes will turn right. That people will adhere to it. There's line markings. Does it mean there will be no accidents? There will be accidents. There will be accidents, right? But at least people generally understand it. And this is where I think security needs to be as well, right? We talk about guardrails. We talk about this is just simple lane markings, and that's what I think governance is. We can't take governance to an nth degree and going, oh no, this is the law of the land. I think we go too far when we think that way. But if we actually create a governance structure that is more realistic, that people can actually use it so that they can operate safely, that's all governance is. Right, and we cannot believe or cannot think that it's not a law, it's not legislation. Right?
I think back to what you're saying is we shouldn't do like absolute security, right?
There's
We
no-
just
yeah.
govern, right?
Yeah, so
We give
there's
the-
also absolute governance. Then it
Yeah.
becomes impossible to do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You go back
Might
there.
as well stop doing business.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you take away all the risks by stopping
By stopping
zero risk, zero
Yeah,
business.
everything's safe.
Exactly. Nothing.
Yep. Close the business down, so we no longer accept any risk. Well, I think we spoke about like a bit of the mentality, about the hype as well as the fear, right? We spoke a bit about the controls side of things. We also spoke about the governance side of things. I want to hear a bit more pragmatic, practical things that you have done, right? Like I believe I remember your session, Kevin, when you spoke about using AI in a particular way to create. I think the example you did was your enterprise risk management framework, right? And then you went into the lessons learned, the can do and can't do and won't do. Yeah, I would like to have you talk a bit more about that if you can. Share your experience, and I don't know, for the two of you as well, if you have experience in that area, share from a pragmatic point of view. How does that come together? What's your experience like? And yes, it warrants.
I've done mine. So practical usage. Yes. So my example was building out an enterprise risk management framework, number one, and then a proper, complete taxonomy. So it's not just the security, but the entire enterprise for the entire organization as well. Very interesting, mainly because it normally will take me several weeks to actually complete a task like this. Something like this took me about 8 hours to complete. There is orders of magnitude productivity gains from doing it. So what I've learned, I'll go back to the very simple thing about AI being a multiplier, right? In math, multiplication, you put a small number, you multiply it with another regular digit, you get a bigger number, right? If you give it 0, it's going to give you 0. And then conversely, if you give it negative, it's going to give you even a larger negative number. And that's exactly what AI is. Sorry. And it's really obvious when you're actually using it as well. I was very lucky because I do have a platform that I can actually utilize by curating information for it as well. So one of the number one lessons I've learned is that you need to give it good quality information, right? You start from there. If you don't give it good quality information, it's never going to be able to give you output. The challenge as humans is that we take it for granted, the knowledge in our head, and then we go, oh, the agent should know. Again, right, it goes back to the whole, is this a magical unicorn thing? It's not. It's really not, right? It is a, what was the description of AI to me? AI is just the probability of trying to get to the next word that it thinks that it needs. That's what the whole LLM is all about. It's the probability of predicting the next word. That's all it is. By the way, which is the reason why it's really bad at math, right? don't get it to do math. So quality data sources and quality context. You have to give it context to the agent. So building these two things are very important. Then it comes to things like your prompt engineering. How do you give it the right instructions? And if you don't give it the right instructions, then you cannot assume that the agent knows what you want. So there was a lot of learning in that space as well. And then making sure that you interact with the agent as it gives you results. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have an urge when you get the results. They're looking, oh, it's wrong. I'm just going to copy it out. I'm going to change it. And I'll be done. One of the interesting things that I've learned is that you have to interact with it. The more you interact, the more it actually, better sort of curates information for you. It actually better understands and changes its probabilistic calculations in the back end to get to a closer answer to you, right? And that's where it gets really, really interesting. So that's the technical side of things. And there was a lot of learning. How do I do this? How do I put the MCP servers? How do I hook everything up together? How do I actually even create a prompt, right? There was a lot of things that was to learn to get to where I was. And then the biggest one is there is still a lot of discussion in the industry. An agent that has high value, that does a lot of stuff, or do you create an AI agent that does simple tasks, right? I flip-flop between the two. But the biggest challenge with simple tasks and high sort of touch point sort of agents is that people will go, well, I'll give a good example, security questionnaires, right? Where we all get it, if you're in the vendor world and stuff like that. You get 5 questions. The first thing you go is, oh, I can answer it. Yeah. That was my mindset. I can answer it. But it was a bit of, okay, let's change this a little bit. I'm going to actually utilize my agent to answer this. And that's where it became a bit more interesting to go, I'm going to put a stop to the way I behave, right? I've got, just like yourself, coming to 3 decades of baggage, right? Of habits that I need to unlearn to be able to do what I do now, right? And it's very interesting because now productivity for myself, I've seen that really big gain. So there's a lot of learning and everything else. Now, by the way, I don't think this is the same for everyone. Someone that is, I had a chat with my team yesterday, my analyst yesterday, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's kind of interesting. The way that you talk about AI is not the way that I will interact with it." And it got me thinking. Yes, it would be, because for me the pattern is I'm going to give it as much good quality information as possible for it to give me the information, the output back, and then for me to curate it until I get to the right output. Whereas for a fresh graduate, right, that's not it. They won't know. They will not know what a good answer is. However, they can utilize the curation, bring information together just so that they can learn more effectively. And learning effectively was what she then realized and go, oh, yeah, well, okay, it is. Absolutely, right? Then obviously, I don't know if we're going to touch on the fear of grads not having jobs ever again. It is that once the usage of AI by our younger folks these days will need to have, the one trait they need to have is critical thinking, right? Without critical thinking and being curious and have critical thinking, right? That's how you effectively use AI, because they don't have any other points of reference in terms of experience and everything else. So therefore, if they have the ability to be a bit more curious in terms of what the response is, they can better, improve their knowledge as it goes along as well. Sorry, big long rant, but that was the practical thing that I was it's been about 8 months, coming to 10 months now, and so much learning, and it's been amazing actually.
So I think apparently the benefit is the productivity, right? For that one particular use case you had, you, you are an expensive resource to a business, right? Senior resource. If we can reduce the amount of time you need to produce a piece of critical document from several weeks to 8 hours, that is a significant improvement in productivity, just from purely man hours, salary point of view, right? But were there also moments where you used it and you go, this is rubbish, like the output you gave, the AI gave me, I can't use that, because you are experienced, right? So were there moments like that? And yes, I'm asking a question, so
The answer is, personally, I stop myself before we get there, but I think I see red flags very quickly now. If I come to a point where I go, oh, well, I'm just going to get AI to pull this information from here just so that I can put it into another document, right? Sure, I can do it. But what value is there, right? There's no curation of information. There's no sort of pulling information or gathering of information that are similar to each other. There's no analysis of information. So when you actually lack any of those, then you ask the question, why can't you just write a Python code and just do it? It becomes automation versus what the AI is for, right? AI is not meant for automation in that sense. Can it do it? Yes, it can, right? Just like, can AI do math? Sure. If I put a Python code in it, it definitely can, right? But that's not what you want to use it for. It's meant for. Is it very controversial to say this? But I think AI is perfect for the risk world. Because the risk world, and I'm talking about operational risk here, not credit risk and anything else, and I'm talking about Gen AI. Credit risk and everything else, yeah, machine learning, AI, absolutely, not Gen AI. Gen AI is great for things like operational risk. How do I know that all these? I'll bring it to security, for example. How do I know this threat poses a certain risk to my organization? Right? We always ask that question, right? Now then the question is, oh, sure, I'll take that threat, try to decompose it down to what kind of controls it might impact. I'll look at my controls. I try to marry the two things together, right? So easy to say, right? AI has the ability to pull those two information together very quickly. And this is where it goes, oh, wait a minute, I can get a lot more sort of value out of this, right? Of going, and you might not want to use the whole thing. You might go as a human, go, oh, that threat's coming in. I know these controls. Now go to the agent and go, okay, tell me what do I implement in these particular controls? You know, how effective am I? So good. Well, that's how you use
They
it.
can also tell you which control is it coming from very quickly. Yeah?
Absolutely, right? Because we have been dealing with the big data volume problem. Our industry is all about large amounts of data, right? Again, haystack. You know, I talked about earlier.
A lot.
So you utilize the AI to try to look for that. You know, it's never going to be 100% accurate, but it gets rid of a lot of
Well,
it.
the productivity gain is there.
Again, it is productivity. Absolutely.
So I'll add to that response. And I've had my chili 2 questions ago, so I think I'm okay. And I'm only providing one response. So I'm
We're
gonna
not
pass.
counting.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because AI is a force multiplier, and to your point, garbage in, garbage out.
Oh no, even larger garbage out.
Yeah, more garbage.
At machine speed, it's more garbage.
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, do stupid
Absolutely.
faster. Yeah.
Exactly. But in practical use, to your point, we deal with a lot of information. It can be technical information, it can be incident information, it can be whatever information we provided in the last risk committee or board paper, that kind of thing. And you want to distill all of that and track it, and also make sure it's consistent across multiple papers that you will be producing, right? So without the Gen AI that can help you pull all of that, you have to pull all of that yourself. I'll have this document up here, this document up here, this spreadsheet up here, this PowerPoint here. How many screens have you got to have all of that there and do the analysis? Yes, you can do it, but it will take time, right? If you use AI to multiply your effort, you get an output out of it, and you can scrutinize it. You can go, oh, hang on, that's not what I wrote. That's not accurate. And you're giving me Q1 of last year. That's not relevant. And you can correct it.
Just to add on that one, we can also, based on my experience also, we can just adjust based on the same data. We can adjust into what kind of committee that you're going to. You need to adjust in terms of the language. What will the audience that you will be seeing that the data? It's the same of data, but it's just the context and the language. You can easily, quickly present it in that way. I haven't it. Okay, let me.
I got a question.
All right.
I got a question. I will definitely ask. What do you think about AI making mistakes?